Welcome or welcome back. Let's not even pretend the only reason you clicked on this video is this thumbnail, so let me show you. There it is in full glory and I'm out of the frame. There it is in full glory. I made it myself. I use this Wacom drawing tablet. For those who have no idea who I am, just clicked on this amazing thumbnail. So no, it's not AI generated. it's not a photo, it's not traditional painting, what else? It's not just manifested itself. And I just started this video talking about the thumbnail and it's going to be really awful and nobody's going to watch after the first 10 seconds. So let me quickly explain what this whole stuff is. Let me bring up my script after this glorious opening and I can't find my script. There it is. So do you ever just start an art project in order to procrastinate on a bunch of other projects? And then you start a completely unrelated artwork. In order to procrastinate further, then you decide to make a video about it in order to procrastinate even more, and then you even procrastinate on making the video. I wanted to finish this video by the weekend and it's Monday 4:22 in the morning. I just felt that this is crucial information that I wanted to share. So once again, welcome or welcome back. Today is the day I talk about this random fan art that I made for a random movie without any particular context, and you will be thankful. Now, today's episode is centered around an artwork that I made about the movie titled Lords of Salem from 2014. This is actually the second version of this picture, but more about it later. For those who are not familiar with the works of Rob Zombie, here's a quick rundown. Robert Cummings first became a celebrated musician with his band named White Zombie, which was named after a 1932 movie with Bela Lugosi. Totally irrelevant detail, it's just the first part of the pattern that you'll see in a moment. Later he started a solo career with the name Rob Zombie, and he even legally changed his name to Zombie. Like many more, I first got to know him through his music, particularly after it was featured in the cult classic video game titled Flat Out 2. But starting in the 2000s, he also became a filmmaker and he mostly made really strange horror movies that drew a lot of inspiration from classic monster movies, grindhouse and exploitation movies. His first feature film, House of a Thousand Corpses, is almost a black comedy version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like, what if people from Texas Chainsaw were hot?
I mean, I think Otis is sexy. You know, I mean, I know he's a bad man and he's done some bad things, but like, I date him.
You wanted the goddamn boogeyman in your sunny little lives. Well, you got him. There's no fucking justice in this world. I am justice!
I mean, they were always hot, just not for the general audiences, I guess. Lords of Salem is a later movie of his that can be looked at as a 2010s horror movie combined with Rosemary's Baby and Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain. If those titles tell you something, then you can kinda guess where this is going. If not, the only thing I can advise is to save yourself while you can, because it's going to get nasty really soon. A little side note, I sometimes wonder who even is my target audience. Like, I make a bunch of cute and lovely Harry Potter fan art and a lot of bizarre stuff that just most people haven't even heard about, like whatever this movie is. Just stick around with me for a second, okay? The main character of Lords of Salem is played by Sheri Moon Zombie, the director's wife, who appears in almost every one of his works, from movies through music videos to vegan activism. Yes, this guy is vegan, by the way. Shameless propaganda plugin. Actually, many people criticized her acting in this one. I don't have an eye for it. I just liked her whole presence through the story. Like, this is a pretty unusual look for a horror movie protagonist, unless your protagonist is an anti-hero or something, you know, like the ones she always plays. I don't want to go into spoilers, but the main promise of the movie is that Sheri Moon's character, named Heidi, is a radio DJ living in Salem, Massachusetts, which is a town famous for the execution of 20 people in the late 1600s who were accused of witchcraft, but according to this story there was a second coven of actual witches in Salem who created a piece of music. And when this music is heard by people, particularly by the women whose bloodlines date back to the people of Salem from the 1600s, they are capable of manifesting themselves in the present day. Heidi and her team receive a recording of this song, and after hearing it multiple times, she starts to experience visions and strange nightmares. This portrait is mostly inspired by one of these particular nightmares. See, the way this movie is structured, it's painfully slow. It still feels like a modern American movie, but it's not like the Conjuring or similar horror movies. And a significant part of the story takes place in Heidi's nightmares. See, there's this location in the movie that is the apartment complex where she lives, and there's an empty apartment at the end of the corridor, and she sees it in multiple dreams and visions. And in one of them she just slowly walks through this door and sees a giant red neon cross hanging in the empty apartment. Then stuff happens that I won't spoil. So what is the deal with this painting? Addressing the elephant in the room, yes, she's crying while she did not cry in this particular scene. Well, most of my recent works are of crying people. In a nutshell, it is my way of grieving over the slow death of humanity. In detail, maybe one day in another video. I said that I made the first version of this picture earlier. I originally just scribbled a black and white version of it, and I added this neon red light. But that version just ended up so underwhelming, I decided to immediately make a new version a few days later. This time in color, with more facial expression and just making it overall more interesting, and some issues emerged during the process. The most visible one is my arch nemesis likeness. See, I mostly don't model my works after one particular person, mainly because I'm not so great in it, so I got a bit caught up in pushing her face back and forth until I had no idea if she even resembles her live action self or not, but I'm quite confident that she's at least recognizable. Her tattoo was a minor issue, especially because I couldn't find a proper image of it. We get about a 30 seconds long shot of her behind in the movie, but the tattoo on her chest, that's always covered with something. Even Google found a bunch of pictures of her face tattooed on people, but not a production photo of the tattoo, so I was a bit upset. But at least I could come up with it myself partially. I'm like 99% sure that that skull on the tattoo is not a skull but some other stuff that I couldn't just recognize. The thing that I could technically still change relatively easily, I just don't want to change it after calling it done, is how the whole scene is a bit too bright. This is a thing that I feel the first version did a little bit better, putting more emphasis on the red light and keeping most of the face in shadow. But maybe taking away brightness would just hurt the overall perception of the image. I don't know, and I don't dare to touch it. Tiny little update, I actually tried it after writing it into the script and it didn't work well, so let's just scratch it out. You know how it goes when you go back to fix a little issue on your image and then you get caught up in a never-ending cycle of I'll just fix this one little more thing. Generally doesn't end well. Little detail, see how I added this abstract fade out with a particular brush, then I added the rim light on these strokes as a meta quality, like the light from the scene directly interacts with an abstraction of the image. Does it make any sense, or I'm just trying too hard to be deep? I'm not sure about it. Either way, These are far from my best works, but I had a great time working on these two, especially on the tears. This is just one of those quick projects I picked up one day randomly, and I don't regret a single second of it, even with all of their mistakes and imperfections. These paintings ended up lovely, and speaking about lovely things, thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day, do some art, even if it involves making a random picture of a nearly 10-year-old movie as just a procrastination/comfort project, but most importantly, have fun while doing that. Farewell. See, I came up with the idea that I just grab my crying character and edit her in between myself and between Mr. Beast as a joke for a thumbnail, because this whole Mr. Beast face meme is not old enough. But then I realized that it is kind of a really cheap and low effort trash clickbait move, so I had a much better idea.